You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Challenge us at Wexford Insurances 0818 31 30 30.
I'm now joined in studio by Ben Cronin, Managing Director of the Global Business Register. Good morning, Ben, and thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Hello, Karl. Pleasure to be here.
Ben, you might start by telling me a bit about your own background, please.
I'm currently based in Waterford, but I moved from Cork to Waterford when I was 12 or 13. I lived in Tramore for 10 or 15 years. Ended up going to college in WIT, studied business studies. And subsequent to that, I lived for a while in Limerick. And whilst I was in Limerick, I started, I suppose, playing rugby to a fairly high level with Garryowen Rugby Club, and that led to me getting involved with the Munster setup in the early 90s, and I played with Munster for 9 seasons up until 99 when I retired. So when I retired from rugby in 99, I wasn't sure what to do, but I felt that there was opportunity in building and construction, and I had some friends who were involved in the building game, and I set up a business with one of them, and we started doing one-off jobs, basically building houses for customers. There was plenty of work at the time in that, and very quickly it morphed into more of a I suppose a development business, in that we were able to buy sites, build houses, many of them single houses, very, very modest stuff, and that was quite a healthy business. And
Ben, so as you said, you're involved in playing rugby at an international level. I often wonder, how valuable was that experience in playing rugby when it was coming to your own business?
Well, I suppose the obvious thing that translates from any sport to business is one of teamwork. Would be an obvious one. I suppose the reliance on others within the team to kind of perform, and that to understand that to make the whole organisation run efficiently, that you've got to rely on others to do what they're best capable of. So I think it gave me an understanding of building a team in a way that you're not I suppose you're not teaming up with people that are too like yourself, that you team up with people that have complementary skills and can do stuff that you can't do. And I think sport in general, was very good in terms of kind of sharpening that focus, or that thinking. And
in 2007, you decided to exit the construction sector. You came up with the idea to set up the Global Business Register. What's it all about, and how did that idea come about?
The idea came about because I would have been involved with companies at the time, and I was aware of what the Company Registration Office in Dublin did in that service, and the obligation of all Irish companies to file accounts and returns with the Company Registration Office was something that I was familiar with. So I suppose the idea then came about that what about building an access point to multiple registries across Europe initially, whereby a customer of ours could essentially register with us, and we would give them open access to all the registries through one portal, and that was a concept. So it was about, I suppose, bringing together a one-stop shop for the customer that requires access to company registration offices around the world, or around Europe at the start, and that was the idea. And I was acutely aware of the need for banks, financial institutions, law firms to get access to data on companies that were registered outside of Ireland as well as in Ireland. And I suppose prior to that business being set up, what people did was they would have registered with the company's house in the UK, or the equivalent of the CRO in France, Germany, Italy, wherever. So that was the simple proposition in the business. How do I get access to company documents for a company that is in Sweden or in Norway or in Denmark or in Spain? So we were in a position to I suppose try and build a platform that we could offer that service through, and that's essentially what we did. In 2007, we formed the company, but we actually didn't sell any product until late 2009, whereby we had a kind of a legal framework document with a number of registries around Europe, and that was the start of the business.
So you saw an opportunity to be able to set up a one-stop shop whereby, let's say, one bank could access all of the information for a business, whether it's located in Ireland or the UK or in the US, through one particular source, and that being the Global Business Register.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So our customers are quite niche. They want primary source information. They want documents that have a legal essence to it. They don't necessarily want to go through a third party. They want to go directly to the registry in question and retrieve it. So prior to us coming along, they would have had to try and manage an account with each registry in Europe, and the complications of that are obvious with language issues, with some currency issues, with settlement issues, with the way invoicing happens. They see the benefit in having a service that is in one language for them, and they see the benefit in getting one consolidated invoice at the end of every month for everything they have consumed across Europe and in the United States. And essentially that is what we've endeavoured to do. So we build our network all the time as well. We get new countries coming into our network on a regular basis. This year we've identified about 60 registries that we've targeted to come into our network and that we know will welcome us when we come knocking. So we've countries like Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Singapore, India, Canada coming into our network over the next 12 months. And our belief is that the bigger we make the network, the more people will use us, because our customers come back to us all the time and say, yeah, we love your service, but what about Cayman Islands? What about Mexico? What about Argentina? The world is a small place, and people do business with companies from all over the world. So the bigger a network, the more the customer will use us.
What have the big challenges been for the Global Business Register over the past number of years?
Well, I think like any startup, there's getting the balance right between product development and sales and money coming in has been difficult for us, and I think that is true of most companies, most startups. We have been very kind of tech, I suppose, focused up until this point, and this year in particular, we've made a conscious effort to really focus on core business, keeping our existing customers happy, and actually getting our existing customers to buy more product by making the product better, by offering them a variety of kind of price points that suit them better. We've been too rigid up until now in terms of pricing, and our customer list is dynamite. We have about 60, probably close to 70 banks that use us. We'd have all the big law firms, big consultancy firms, a lot of big banking names that use us from around the world. And I suppose the real focus has been to get them to spend more, but also to build out our network. So there's an investment required to build out the network, because in order to bring in a new country into the network, there's an investment in technology. We have to integrate their APIs, and we have to do a lot of travel actually as well, because we have to meet a lot of these registries, and the registrars, the key people within the registries, they need to be comfortable with who they're doing business with. So we do a lot of FaceTime with them. We go to various events that they're at, and we probably travel to 3 or 4 kind of key trade shows every year, and we meet the registries and tell them what we're doing.
And from a geographical perspective, what's the mix of clients at the moment?
It's very Europe focused at the moment. We would have we have most customers in the UK, and I think that's because the regulator in the UK has been pushing this agenda quite aggressively for a number of years now. The UK is the biggest market close to us, and it would have been when we started the business initially. I would have gone over to London to various compliance events from day one, and we would have targeted London as being, I suppose, accessible. There's no language issues, relatively close to Waterford. And we were very fortunate to pick up 2 big banks after the very first visit, because those 2 banks recognised straight away that what we did was just really solving a problem for them. They prior to us, they did have a product that was, giving them the same information, but they just saw the value being that, they could just register with us once and they didn't have to manage multiple accounts, and they could see that. And I suppose compliance people and customers of ours, they kind of see it straight away. They see the benefits straight away, and then so we do get sign-ups quite efficiently on our websites for our service. So that has been key for us. Is and has been, how do we convert more of our visitors to customers? And I think anybody that owns a website, that's a challenge for all website owners, is what are the conversion rates. And taken in isolation, our conversion rates are actually quite poor, but we do get a lot of visits. So we do get about 15 sign-ups every day, and we want to convert a lot more to sign-ups. So we're working on that all the time.
You mentioned that the FSA is very, very heavy on the policing side of compliance. How does that relate to the Irish market?
Well, the FSA, I suppose, their remit is really, entities that are based in the UK, and the FSA, for my mind, would be pursuing, I suppose, issues slightly ahead of the curve, and the FSA would be viewed as being very progressive. So what the FSA have been pursuing in the UK for the last 3 or 4 years, we see the Irish regulator now starting to pursue. So, which is good for us in that the FSA have actually driven a lot of customers to us, because they would indicate, or they would have, I suppose, a hierarchy of information suppliers, and we would be in the top bracket of that, simply because of where we get our data from. And the Irish regulator is starting to see see things in a similar way to the FSA. So we are starting to get more customers in Ireland. A lot of the banks, insurance companies here, and consultancy firms here are starting to look at our service. The Irish market is obviously a lot smaller than the UK. The UK market is just so international in comparison. Ireland does a lot of business in the US and in the UK. So there is a need for our service here, but we hope to get more of them, for sure. I'd love to be driving up to Dublin or driving to Cardiff to meet customers rather than having to go over to London.
What are you doing from a sales perspective to get the message out there about the Global Business Register?
Well, our biggest marketing tool is our websites and the search engine optimization that we do on those. Apart from that, we would attend, I suppose, key events that would be conferences that would have a very compliance focus to them. In the UK in particular, our biggest fans are our customers who, through word of mouth, would recommend our service to us. I followed up on a call only today with a major German bank who took on new staff that used to work in a bank that we serviced. So it was pure word of mouth, and this is something we kind of copped on to very early in the company's development, was that in the UK in particular, the compliance network in the banking sector was very close knit, and there's actually only a certain finite amount of compliance experts in the city in London. So they're either based in the Square Mile or they're based out in Canary Wharf, and they're always talking to each other cross organisations about how do I solve this issue or that issue, and how do I comply in this instance. And if you can get a solution into one of them that works, they will recommend it and pass on the message to others that would have been maybe ex-colleagues, for example.
Finally, what's your objective for 2013?
Well, our objective from our network point of view is we have identified 60 other registries around the world that we're going after in the next 12 months. We're currently fundraising for that project, and we believe, based on research we've done and based on feedback from our customers, that the bigger the network, the more our resource will be used. So we've laid a lot of groundwork over the last 3 or 4 years with these registries around the world, and now is the time to kind of expand the network. And that's kind of critical to us.
Well, Ben, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for coming in and speaking to our listeners this morning, and I wish you continued success with the Global Business Register.
You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Think Wexford Insurances for your business insurance.